Welcome to the Cookbook, where we invite guests on to share the ingredients of what has helped make them the successes that they are. All of it, the good, the not so good. You're not going to find anything half-baked here. And our kitchen gets messy sometimes. That's when the fun starts. So come on and join us. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Cookbook. I'm your host, Iris Goldfeder, and before anything, if you look down, you'll see like, share, subscribe. Please do that. And spread the word about our podcasts. We're getting a lot of traction, and I really appreciate everything that you're doing, so like, share, and subscribe. So I'm going to bring our guest on. Nina Froriep is my mentor in all things video, and she has been for the last 4 years. And if it wasn't for her, the cookbook probably wouldn't have happened. So I'm going to let her tell you about her. But again, share, like, subscribe. And without further ado, here's Nina. Hey.
Hey.
So
thanks for having me again.
Oh, please. It's so funny because the last time that you were on, I think you were like the third or the fourth guest when it started.
Yeah.
And now you're like the 104th guest or 105th guest, which is
kudos to you. You know,
insane.
Yeah. Not many people make it to 100, right? So that's like sort of the big linchpin is 100, you know. That's a big goal.
Yeah, and I think that the thing for me was it was never about me. Mm-hmm. And I have people saying, you're crazy, you should be monetizing it, you should be doing this. And it's like a passion project for me, and it's so that I get to showcase people, right? Yes, I'm hosting it and everything, but for me, it's like I get to showcase you. And you, besides being one of my favorite people in the world, got me started with video when, Kofi was like, you need to be doing this. And I was like, no, I don't. And then COVID hit, and
I know. And you are, you will always be famous for the paper towel video. That was just one of the best videos ever.
It was so funny. And I remember when I was doing it, it was just so genuine because...
And that's why it was so brilliant, right?
Because it literally happened like the day before. I was like, oh my God. Because we were doing like a video challenge that you had. And it was like every day we had to do a video. And we had to come up with these things. It was like, what do we come up with? And my favorite part of that whole thing was when we first started, it was like, being afraid of how we look when we're online, right? Like, looking perfect. And now I'm like in a t-shirt and, whatever. But, back then it was like only movie stars or whoever are on video. And then by the time we're 6 months deep into COVID, I had my little Bonnie Raitt stripe. Yeah. And everybody looked like shit. And what mattered was the messaging. Exactly.
Yeah. Because, we all hadn't seen a hairdresser in a really long time, or a colorist in your case. So, yeah.
Yes, a colorist. So, and it was just amazing. I just remember going, oh, it doesn't matter. And I had my little monkey back then because I was in the other house, my little monkey with my guitar, and that was like a whole thing. But I remember when...
Your dog made regular appearances.
Oh, I know. These guys aren't allowed in my... So I would let Skylar in, but Piper can't come in because she'll eat everything that's not nailed down. But Gizmo and Harley were just so good. And Gabby. They were all my little fur angels. But I just remember that when that delivery came, I was just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And then... at the excitement of it, I was like, oh, this is going to be like, that's what I'm going to do my video on. And I had no idea it was going to be received the way that.
Oh, you're talking about the paper towels. Okay, we're back at the paper towels.
Yeah, we're back to the paper towels. You should know me enough. I'm going to.
No, that's why I'm giving context here. We're back to the paper towels, folks.
Right. And then we did the marketing fails.
Yes. Oh my God, the poop.
With the, oh my God, the poop, the dessert thing, the
emoji. Where an ice cream parlor took the poop emoji as a chocolate ice cream. That was priceless. That was absolutely priceless.
And then the other one was in the New York subway, where the funeral home had the ad on the other side of the tracks, and it said, come closer.
Yeah. No, that was really distasteful, but funny. Yeah.
It was like, like morbid humor, but you've
Very
been doing like video for like a gazillion million years.
well. I mean, I've been a filmmaker for a gazillion million years. Yeah. So
Yeah, but filmmaker and then into, video. And so I want to talk about your journey, but the, so Nina has this, it's called the LinkedIn engagement group. And then there's other,
other stuff.
thank you, that she does. And I'm in like a couple of them, but
Yeah.
if you join one of her groups and you see her genius, her and Robin they both own Clockwise Productions. It's amazing, and I try to make it every time I can. And there are just some times that I don't, but I try to come every time I can because I always find something new. There's just always something new. So why don't you tell the audience, because it's been a few years.
Yep.
Can't believe I'm saying that. Your journey from, I know, right? And you were always an entrepreneur, basically, but from, film production into what you're doing now.
Yeah. I mean, the non-3-hour version of it is that, oh God, how long ago? This is about 7 years ago, 7 years, I want to say. 8 years, something around there. As a traditional production, film and video production company, it was just not a viable business model anymore because everybody with a smartphone in their back pocket was able to create video quickly and easily and cheaply. Didn't lead to good video or videos that made sense, but there was a lot of video around, and most importantly, people didn't want to pay for getting videos done anymore. And that sort of coincided with me starting to realize that I needed video for my own business to promote myself. And I had no clue how to do it. Like, here I am, I'm a filmmaker, right? I have a documentary film to my name. I have an Emmy Award to my name. I have some Emmy nominations to my name. And I don't even know how to create a video because I'm used to having them produced for me, right? I know how to run the budget. I know how to put the team together. I know how to run a set. I know how to run a post-production facility, but I don't know how to actually make films or videos myself. So, there was just this really steep learning curve because I figured, if anybody can learn how to do videos themselves and do it well, then it should be me, because obviously there's, the trained eye, there's the understanding of what we're looking for, there's the understanding of what good content is. I just need to, figure out the technical aspects of it. So that's what I did. And when you and I met in 2020, so this is like 5 years ago, pretty much exactly 5 years ago, because we are about, at the anniversary of the pandemic hitting. I had just sort of kind of figured out how to do video quickly and easily. And so we did these month-long challenges, right, where you found us. And ever since I really am passionate about, I always have been, showing people how to do the videos themselves, because for most of us small business owners, and especially service-based business owners, it is not realistic that we employ an agency to shoot for us and then edit for us and do the posting for us. All that stuff we need to be able to do ourselves. So it needs to be fast. It needs to be efficient. It needs to be such that it's not the most dreaded task of our day, week, and month. And it needs to be such that it actually serves a purpose, because otherwise we're just doing lip service, and why would we bother with that, right? So I just moved more and more from just doing video into actually doing video for social media, and in particular LinkedIn, because for my brain, I love LinkedIn. It works really well. I think it works well for a lot of us small business owners, and I would say, service-based small business owners, a lot of us have ADHD. I find Facebook and all these other platforms to be extremely confusing.
Yeah.
And I love how straightforward LinkedIn is and how easy it is to navigate. And it's really lovely to know that I don't have to post 5 times a day, right? I get away with actually in my case, 3 times a week. And that is plenty to run a business and grow a business. So it's not, not the having to dance and having to put yourself out there in ways that I just find distasteful or just not in keeping with who I am and what I want to stand for, right?
Interesting, because so I went from 3 times a week. So I had the podcast, or I have the podcast, and then I was posting Wednesdays. It was like something personal so people could get to know me, and then Thursdays would be tips and tricks. And that's my video is. So I really do 1 video a week, but I post twice.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found is that when, we get the engagement that we get and we have the consistency of the times that we're posting and the days that we're posting, people are looking for it, right? They're looking for that because we've been consistent. So they're looking for it. One of my favorite series that you did that you don't do anymore was the naked video series.
Yeah.
Just
Robin and I have talked about resurfacing, but it was brilliant for its time. It was perfect. Yeah. And, Michael and I asks for it all the time too, because you guys were with me, way in the day.
Yeah.
But it just wouldn't be the same anymore if I resurrected it now.
No, I know. And that's it. Some things worked, right? And now things have just changed so much with video, because I almost feel like we have so many people that are doing video, but are they doing video properly? And so
properly, right? I mean, times are changing so much. I mean, I hear video people telling their clients that they don't need to edit their videos anymore. I'm like, wait, when did that happen? It's like, you're definitely trimming. I mean, and again, how are people using, when I use the terminology around filmmaking, I'm very clear on what terminology I'm using because it is my profession. But the problem is that with these kids, and I call them kids anywhere under millennial and younger, they don't use the terminology clean. So they're like, you don't need to edit, but what they really mean is you just don't need to. You only need to trim it, or but you still need to like clean it up. You still want to put your logo on it. You still want to.
Right.
You have to put closed captioning, absolute must. So, what does no editing really mean to you when you're using that kind of terminology, right?
Right. And I love people that are like, oh, but LinkedIn does their own closed captioning. No, do not do that, because they will get everything wrong. Everything.
Well, and it's also, you don't control where it is, right? And people turn it off, right? So I just make sure that I upload my videos. That's a little pro tip. I upload my videos clean, meaning no captions, with a separate caption file, because that allows for the web crawlers to crawl through the separate file that is the caption file for content, right? Until we get to the point where AI. And we're basically there already. It's just not everybody, every platform employs it. We'll be able to read, video content, but it just is really important that your content is searchable, and B, most of us. I mean, I'm watching my own behavior, even in bed at night when I'm still doom scrolling, which I so totally shouldn't. I have a dog in bed with me, and because I don't want to inconvenience my dog, I mean, this is so ridiculous, I don't put the audio on.
So see, I have my AirPods.
No, I don't do the AirPods in bed at night. I will do the phone, but I'm not doing the AirPods. And I don't have a partner, so I just have the sound off or nearly off. And I'm also trying to just like get out of the habit of even playing with my phone before I go to bed. Right? There's the whole thing of that.
Yeah, I tried. Speaking of dogs,
I hear it.
Okay, guys. So it's funny because these guys will. So my wife. Sleep. Oh, hang on one second. Getting a delivery, of course, because it always happens during the podcast. But but we're authentic here, and we know that we have dogs, and whatever. But like when my wife goes to sleep, she'll wear, which is hilarious, and this is because of Molly. So Molly was a guest like earlier this year, and
Molly, of course,
and I still deal with her. Like I still have my, my ring.
Yep. Yep.
Still talk to her. And so
Molly
I ordered.
McLaughlin? Oh no, she
Mhm.
married. Different last name now, right?
No,
Eastman.
she got married. Molly Eastman.
Eastman. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
She's the sleep specialist. I mean, she's
Oh
just
my
so
God.
passionate about it. Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing. Yeah.
And when I think about all of the people that like graduate, I'm going to call them Nina graduates, right? Because it was Molly and it was, Steffi and it, Diane Titterton and, like all of these people went on to, Donna Kastner. I saw she's back now in the group, which I thought was amazing. But Molly, I really wanted her on because, especially with everything going on and people not being able to sleep with all of talking about doom scrolling. But so she, told me about this mask to wear, sleep mask.
Okay.
And it came and Heather stole it. So then I had to order another one. And then she left it on her nightstand and Piper ate it. So then she stole mine.
Oh no.
And I had to order another one.
Okay.
So, but she sleeps with that and like she'll have earplugs in sometimes. So, I always have the AirPods in to, respect her. But for the dogs, I keep my light down as low as I can because that disturbs them because they sleep in the bed. Mm-hmm. And Skylar literally will sleep on like right on my shoulder. So I'll have her little breath on my neck while I'm scrolling and I'm, kind of like, what are you? So,
yeah,
so
no, he curls up at my feet. And if I try to hold his paw or cuddle with him, he's like,
get away. If I touch her, she'll move. It's on her terms. She's going to stay right here. I may scratch her head a little.
Yep.
And she'll snore. But if I like go to like hold her, she'll just like, she'll kick Heather. And then because she's so big, she's not a teeny tigger. She's like 47 pounds. Actually, she's 57. But anyway, so you're still going strong with the group. And I love how, I know our quarterly content session is coming up. And I love how you inspire people to plan for the quarter. And I remember when we started, it was like batch record. And I was like, I don't know how am I going to batch record? And now Kofi and I meet and I do, and you'll be proud of me. I do like 8-9 videos.
You get better and better at it, right?
Yeah. Because in the beginning it was like, well, it was just me also. Well, that's not true. It was Kofi, but I was like, how do I make more than one video? And then when it was just me doing it during COVID, it was like, how am I going to find 8 things to talk about?
Oh, so easy. Yeah.
Well, now it is, right? But it was just so, everything was just like so foreign and different then. But so now you have the quarterly planning and you have a spreadsheet where everything is like kind of, do you want to explain that a little?
Yeah.
Not to give the cow away with the milk, but
No, not at all. Actually, I'm just creating a video series that is going to be, available on LinkedIn with that content. So basically, to give it a bit of a framework, planning your content. In our case, LinkedIn, but it really doesn't matter what kind of content, right? In general, most people just sort of think of like content and content planning as the same action as creating it and posting it. And it really is 3 very separate things. There is the planning part of it. There's the execution part of it. And then there is the posting and engaging part of it. And in the content planning session, which is our first step in this process of getting our, stuff out into the world, we kind of go again step by step, where the first step is we're looking at the really big picture, meaning 3-4 months out, and only look at like, okay, what are my travel plans? Because I always think that has to come first, because if we ain't putting it first, it ain't happening at all. So what are my travel plans? What are my, hopefuls for days off? And what are the big holidays? And then, what are my big events? So we're not talking about like what we're doing with this podcast. That is not considered a big thing. It's considered a anchor content, which is something that anchors your calendar. I'm talking about launches, conferences, TED Talks, a new book coming out, stuff like that. And then once you have that, you put that into your content calendar, which in our case is just a simple spreadsheet. And then you start planning out however many weeks you need to promote that thing that you put into your calendar. So you want to make sure that thing is at least 3 or 4 months out, so you have enough time to do what you need to do in order to properly announce it, talk about it, get people enrolled into it. And then, so that's a promo time. And then at the other end, you want to have the time for sales, meaning you want to have enough time after an event, not immediately disappear for like a 3-week vacation. So you can give people who do sign up through your event a great onboarding experience, or which happens a lot, especially these days, is people still are maybe on the fence or they want some more reassurances. So you want to have that time to book phone calls with people to make sure that they are happy with whatever have their questions answered. So that's sort of the big picture stuff. And once you have that stuff in place, we just then start filling in the content calendar with our anchor content, meaning, podcast newsletters, whatever you do regularly. And then all of a sudden your content calendar isn't that empty anymore. You probably are actually fighting to put everything in that you want to put in. Like, do you have a very cool series, like a tip series, or do you have like what we are big on is lead magnet series? But all of this content is content that we're producing, batch produced, as you mentioned earlier, Iris. So, the conversation I'm having online to promote my big quarterly whatever session, I'm going to do that. I'm going to create those videos for that as a series of 5 or 6 videos. I might not use every one every time, but whenever I have one of those free sessions, I can pull out those videos and reuse them.
Because they're evergreen.
And I know I need 3, so I'll create maybe 6, and then I can mix and match and put the focus on this one time to focus on that. We just had a series that we retired after 2 years that we played each video 5 times. That's amazing, right? For bang for buck, where I only had to create those videos once and I got to use them 5 times. And again, we don't want videos longer than 60 or max 90 seconds anyway, right? So it's really cool to create content like in because your head is also in the conversation of what you're promoting, what you're selling, what you're talking about. So it would be silly just to do one and then stop, right? Do them all, and sort of continue the conversation that you're having with your audience.
So you're saying 90 seconds, and I thought that now it was like up to 3 minutes. It's not 3 minutes now?
Oh, God, no. I mean, it looks, sometimes I actually just created 2 videos that are over 3 minutes, and I'm trying to get them down, but, sometimes you just can't. No, 90, I mean, the ideal length is 60 seconds, actually.
Wow. Okay.
If you want people to get to the end, where conceivably your call to action is, it needs to be 60 seconds or less. I think there's an 80% drop of people watching beyond 60 seconds.
Ooh, okay, Kof. Let's make note of that. That's good to know. Well, because we have a video service where we record people, and we edit the videos. We do the thing, and sometimes they're like 90 seconds. A couple of times, like with my client Michelle, she will go 3 minutes, because like with the not-for-profit sector, and maybe her content is a little different, because it's not like where she's trying to sell stuff. She's just really trying to inform, because unfortunately the political climate right now is not friendly to not-for-profits.
Let's have her do a live instead, because if she does a live, then she can go on forever.
Ooh. Making a note here. Kofi, make a note in the background. I'm making one here. Michelle live. And she's just an amazing human. She, and I think one of the, things for me is what's been happening is, I look at my board and I look at all of my clients and I get all excited. There's not one person on there that I don't want to be working with anymore. Like, you know how like you have to take people and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to take them and I'll suck it up. Not one person.
Yep, I don't do that anymore either.
Not one person, because
I'm super excited about everybody I have. Yeah.
Oh.
And even in the leg, even in our engagement group, 30 people, but I've had a one-on-one conversation with each one of them. And I mean, there's some oddballs in there, but I love my oddballs. But there's not a single person in there that I'm not excited about being in there.
Right. And it's just such an amazing accomplishment, because just a year ago, I still had to suck it up.
Yeah.
And now it's like, nope. So just to sticking to the, format a little bit, a lot of people watching this are entrepreneurs, right? Or they're thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. So what advice do you have for somebody, especially in your space, who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur?
So I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. So I'm not even I don't even know what it looks like on the other side, because I've never been on the other side other than as a vendor. So, I mean, for me, the freedom of time management that I have is absolutely non-negotiable. And it doesn't mean that I'm, have lots of free time. It just means I still work a lot, and sometimes more than I want, although I'm getting much better with that too. But I get to do it on my terms, right?
Yep.
So if I want to be off a whole Thursday once a month to go to the spa when it's not filled with everybody else on the weekends, I get to do that. And then I know I'm going to be working, Saturday and Sunday also. And, if I want to travel, I split my time between Switzerland and New York. I get to do that, right? And I get to plan so I can do that. So, I mean, if entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. There's no one. No one's going to come and rescue you, right? You are the boss, and you still will have people to answer to, which are your clients. So it's not like you just can do whatever you want. That is a fallacy. You will always have that person that you're answering to. It's just not called boss anymore. It'll now be called client, right?
Right.
It's just a shift there. And, some people are super, super successful, but you also want to that, 80% of entrepreneurs don't make it past, I think, the first year. There's, the numbers of it's being very hard for people to get past $100,000 income bracket. So just be prepared for everything to take a lot longer than you think it would, because you're now, it's only happening if you're doing it, right?
That's true. And that's so true. And I always say, I love that you said that entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. Mm-hmm. It's not. I mean, it's, because, and I always say, if you really want to get to know who you are, become an entrepreneur, like what you can withstand, because, in the beginning, it can bring you to your knees.
Yeah. And the one thing I did when I started my company in 96, I did sign up at a community college and took an accounting class. I dropped out about 70% into it because they went for speed at some point, and I was like, this is not about speed accounting for me. I don't want a professional accounting job, but I want to, at every given moment, know what my bookkeeper and my accountant are doing. And if I need to put in a journal entry, or I need to prepare a report for my, tax accountant, or for an audit or whatever, I want to at least know how to do it in theory, even if I fuck it up halfway through. But in theory, I want to know what I'm doing. And it has paid off handsomely in terms of, as a producer anyway, right? It was not lost on me as a producer either, because, but still just understanding what is a P&L, what is a balance sheet, what are your tax reporting items. And still, you will always have experts to guide you, but to have a basic understanding, I think, is really important.
I like that a lot. Yeah. And if you can get a bookkeeper, get one. Last year and the year before. Last year?
And
I think it was the year before. I screwed
yeah,
up twice,
yeah,
like big time, like two $7,000 mistakes.
yeah. No, no,
Yeah.
I had a bookkeeper from day one on, and even where I was sort of reinventing myself 7, 8 years ago and really had no income for a couple of years until, things were figured out. The one person I kept on was my bookkeeper. And then of course, my accountant for taxes, because, I know what I'm doing there. But yeah, I just kept my bookkeeper on. It was, you can have a one-off bookkeeper that charges you just by the hour. There's plenty of those around, and I've had one of those for the same person for my company's nearly 30 years old. Probably 20 of those years were with my beloved Julie, and she was worth every penny because I knew if my whole life was upside down, my books were clean, and my books were such that if I got audited, and I did get audited, not by the IRS, but the unions twice. My books were so clean. I just sailed through it. So totally worth it. Totally worth it. That 2 or 3 hours a month, 30, 40, $50, totally worth it.
Nice.
No.
Yeah, my bookkeeper is not that cheap, but it's worth it because it keeps everything, like you said, in line, and I know where every dollar is going, and
And it allows you to know what your cash flow is doing, because nothing's worse than money trouble and money worries, or not. I mean, we still have money worries, obviously, if the cash flow is not there, but at least I know exactly where I stand and where I need to go. And with that focus, what gets measured gets handled, is, I think, the expression, right? So yeah, that to me is like, having your corporate papers and having your accounting in order is absolutely key.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. That's a really, really good tip. So there's like so many things I want to talk to you about. So what are some of the other products you have? I know that we have the leg, but what other, offers do you, or services do you offer?
We have quite a few things floating around, but essentially we have two buckets. We have the LinkedIn bucket and we have the video bucket, right? So on the LinkedIn bucket, we have the LinkedIn Engagement Group, which is a membership, and we're really calling it now a mastermind. The only LinkedIn Engagement Group that's also a mastermind, because it really is a mastermind at this point, right? We have monthly calls. We have a community platform that we can all chat with one another. There's a huge resource library that is growing by the day. So, there's lots more to it than just engagement.
I need to get in there. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you should.
No.
And then on the LinkedIn side, although it crosses over into the video side, is I now have this beautiful program called Create Your Own LinkedIn Live Show. And I'm not very good with naming things. I just like descriptive titles so people know what the hell it is we're talking about. And so that is it's a really cool program because it's for life. And you have a really robust library where you could walk yourself through it by yourself without any help needed. It's very detailed. It's step by step. It's checklists. It's how-to videos. Everything's there, and I'm keeping it updated because things change. And since I have a lot of lives myself, I have that working everyday knowledge of it, and make sure that things are not getting stale. But with that membership with that program comes two monthly group calls where you can come in and just ask any question, and I can do mini trainings if you're stuck on something, and you get a couple of one-on-one calls with me as well. So it's a really, 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 really good program, and you can use up your one-on-one calls with me, but then you can stay in for the rest of your life, the program's life, this world's existence, and take advantage of the constantly updated library and training videos and the twice monthly calls.
Right, and those calls with you are like priceless. So,
thank you.
I mean,
Well, we
It's
also go in, Robin and I we never just walk in, right? We're always prepared. We always want to make sure there's a learning there. We always want to make sure there is an experience and not just you're showing up and I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for you to ask me questions, right? So we are always prepared to also be teaching or discussing something beyond just being available for questions. And thank you for saying so.
But I mean, it's first off, everybody knows I don't say stuff just to say it. It's true. And I mean, I'm not part of that. And oh my God. So we were doing, Jennifer Uraziano and I were doing a live on that we were talking about our upcoming workshop. And I get on LinkedIn and I'm like, okay. And we have like 10 people waiting at this point. I'm like, why the hell is this not why is this not working? So, I have Nina on WhatsApp.
You didn't know you needed a third-party vendor to go live?
I didn't know I needed that.
Oh, shit. Okay. Oh.
Well, that's why I was like, what do I do? And then you're like, well, you have to attach StreamYard. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then, but it was like 20 minutes in. And there were still like four people hung in there. But my point was that, I called the expert because I knew. And you responded right away, which was amazing because you could.
I was not on a call with a client. Yeah, I had time. So, but I saw your WhatsApp. I'm like, oh, shoot. And and obviously when you call, if I can, I drop everything I'm doing. So I was happy to help.
I know, which was awesome. But it was just so funny. I was like, yes, she answered. So I told Jen, I was like, she answered. We got this. Let me just, and so I was going back because it was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is that you, Jen, and I, that's when we met in real life for the first and so far only time. Yeah.
Yes. That was the COVID when my sister-in-law on the way to the meeting or to dinner, because it was dinner. It was like, yeah, I tested positive for COVID.
Yeah. I remember that you both were taking tests. And
we took tests. We took like 2 tests from the CVS right there, and it was negative. And JU was like, she's like, are you sure you're good? I'm like, we're negative. And we just tested every, single day, but it was just like, seriously.
Yeah. But to finish answering your question, so quickly. So this is just on the LinkedIn side, and then on the video side, we have a full program that you've gone through, which is the Connect and Convert video. It used to be cohort. Now it's a program. Also online everything. That's a really big program because it really teaches you from A to Z anything you need about video. You can go in and do the whole program, or you can do what a lot of people do is they just buy the program, without my support, just so they have a library to check, sort of like, oh, I forgot about this. Let me, and you as a former graduate of the cohort, you have access to that at any given time. And then we also have the 5 videos every service-based business must have. It's a little program, but we really love it because it is just helps you write the scripts for those 5 videos that every business should have. If you don't do any other videos, you want to have those 5, and it's like the elevator pitch, the mission statement, the forward-looking, the backward-looking, and the sales video, right? And we just, all we do is ask you 22 questions. And once you've answered those questions, there's just cut and paste happening to get the scripts together. And it's a really, really, really cool program.
Which is, I think it's awesome. I remember one of the things that really stands out was look at the light. Because when I was doing my videos, I was like looking down here. Yeah. And I'm looking at you. So, but when I'm talking to the audience, but I just remember it was like, look at the light. And I don't even know how many videos it would take like 20 takes sometimes where it's like, I would do the video. I'm like, yes. And then I'm like, damn it, I wasn't looking at the light. And then I would go, and it just took, but it's like when you hear these things like, repeatedly, they stick after a while. I mean, it takes a while sometimes, right? But
yeah.
But
and that's the thing about repetitive, right? I learned to edit in film school and still edit with physical with an actual Revis splicer. I still have the scars from the razor blade. And he always said don't throw out your short ends, meaning you're not throwing out any of the physical film. And he just banged it into us. And even to this day, I will not delete, although it's all digital now. You can hold a gun to my head. I'm not deleting any footage. It's like, no, but I don't even remember his name anymore, Ed or something like that. But no, but that teacher, he said, you never, ever, ever throw out a short end because you never know when you need it. And it just, it was told, we were just told so many times that at some point it just, it sticks.
Yeah. and I remember when it was like I did the April video challenge, the May video challenge, the June video challenge, and then July came and I was like, I'm just going to keep doing them, because what ended up happening was this, not perfection, because, I mean, to me, I don't think it's ever perfect, but this comfort and and getting into, because we were doing like 5 a week. Like our goal was basically one, for every day of the,
Friday video. Yeah.
Yep. And, I would like send them to Kofi and I'd be like, okay, I need you to edit this, or, whatever. But, I would get them done. And I remember we bought this house and I was like, okay, so how do I do video outside? And I remember I did like 2 or 3 videos outside. And I brought them into the group and everyone was like, stick to the office.
Yeah.
It's just
I have this client, you probably remember him, Judson, right?
Yes.
Oh my God. He always wanted to be outside. And it's just like he's really good on camera, and he has a real good presence, and he's part of Toastmasters, and I mean the guy can nail a script like no one else, and lovely appearance on video. And then he'd be outside, and they'd be like a bird flying through his head, or there'd be like there would just always be like a posse of dogs coming through, barking their heads off, or there was just always something happening. And I said, just like, why? Why? Yeah. I think he just wanted to have something different. And I said, like, done. What is that expression? Done is better than nothing, or imperfect is better. Anyway, there's a saying that better do it and do it at home than not do it at all.
Than not do it at all.
Lofty goals of doing it outside. It's just, and framing outside can be really treacherous. Audio outside can be really treacherous. And that's why I subscribe to as little equipment as possible, right? When people work with me on video, no microphones, light, very like, this is all natural light. As little, because the more you put between you and the video, the more will go wrong, or the more you will not do it because it is more work, right? So, I mean, this looks professional. And I mean, I did put a lot of care into my background, but other than that, you really want to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah. I think the only 2 videos that I did outside were, and it was before we moved here, were because it was during COVID, and it was really important for me to tell people it's okay to take care of yourself. And you actually like that one, because I was outside, I was sitting, at our patio table, and hummingbirds were behind me, or whatever. The dogs were, behind me. And it was just like, get out of the house.
Yep.
Practice self-care, where stuck inside, you have to get out, you have to get, fresh air. And I remember like, I did it 3 times, and the road that we were on was just starting to get busy. Like, it wasn't busy when we first bought the house, but then it started, and then it was like right by, and I went, oh my God, really? And I remember I got like one video off that there was like no noise. Then the other one, it was like a self-care one. And then I think the other one was just being frustrated with, I think the politics. And I wasn't going to put it out, but I was just like, people aren't telling us where to get vaccines. Like, you can't get vaccines, like all of the things that were going on. I remember, and you were like, you may want to get political. And I was literally at that point, like, fuck it. I don't even, care. And
it's your choice, right? I'm I'm always much more careful. I mean, there's people like my friend Shannon who goes way, 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 way out there with her content.
She was on last week. So
Oh, she was. Oh, excellent. And it's great because, and she has, I mean, she has an amazing amount of people who just absolutely love her and adore her, me included. But sometimes their stuff is like way out there where I'm like, I wouldn't, wouldn't go there. But he's authentic about it, right? I think if I tried to be that, it would probably be really weird because I would feel so uncomfortable. But we all have to do us, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's it. And I try to I'm not on the fence, obviously, but I try to, teeter not on the side of caution, but I don't need to get in anybody's face. Everybody who watches this knows how I feel.
Yeah, it's not worth it, right? And I think your views are pretty clear, as you just said. And sometimes the unsaid is as loud as the said, right?
Yes.
So if you create the context and you create the space around it, I think that can be equally as powerful. And what's out there is out there. I mean, that's the lesson I always taught my nephew. It's once it's out there, it's out there, and a recruiter will find it because depending on what jobs you go for, they will dig really deep. So just think about that. I mean, which is
for you all who are watching, because I don't care. I mean,
right? Yeah,
like in my about section on my I don't have pride flags all over my site, and I get shit for that from the gay community. They're like, why don't you have that there? And I'm like, because that's not my focus. It's in my about section that I have a wife and 2 crazy kids.
Yep.
But I don't, fur kids. But, for me, it's like, that's not what it's about. But I'm going to say that if you know that I have a wife, you pretty much know which way I'm going to be leaning, right? It is what it is. Yep. So, but I have had, I had like woke American apparel on, Natalie Morrow, and holy crap, did we get, like I said to Kofi, I was like, ooh, should we put this one out there? And he was like, hell yes. And I went, okay. Because I'm like, you're the producer. I'll, whatever you want to do. And it was fine. Yep. At the end of the day, it's like we have 100 plus episodes, and there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody. And, people can, I had one guy local, which was hilarious. Oh my God. I was at this networking event, and he recognized my voice. So he watched my podcast because he saw me on LinkedIn. And so he saw, the preview, and then he recognized my voice. Plus he recognized my voice because I run the not-for-profit, and I have a radio commercial out every year that's for like 3 months. So everyone knows my voice. And he goes, you're the one who has that cooking podcast. And I said, well, actually, it's a business podcast, but, yes. And he goes, you should leave your politics out of it. And I said, did that make you uncomfortable? And he said, yes. I said, that's your problem. That's not my problem.
No.
And it was the first time ever that I wasn't empathetic to it. Because normally I'd be like, wow, I'm really sorry that made you uncomfortable. But I think I just was to the point that it was like, I just don't care. Then don't listen. If you don't want to hear it, don't listen.
Exactly. And I think that is also, And then, but the sad part about all of this is that we're so divided at this point that I don't even think that the so-called other side even has access or gets served by algorithmically, or maybe they're not even on LinkedIn at all anymore, right? I mean, there are all these alternate social media sites now that I'm, for instance, not privy to, right? And I had a woman I worked with ask me to look into like 3 or 4 sites that she mentioned. I'm like, am I that behind the moon that I don't know about these sites? And she was talking about them like they were, Facebook and TikTok and et cetera. And I looked into them, and they were all, far right. I'm like, okay, good to know they exist. And, it's kind of scary to think that we're not even living on the same planet anymore, right? Yeah, it's really scary. I mean, we should be listening to what is going, like, liberal and conservative. I mean, there's liberal and conservative that lives in the middle of the world, but these fringe groups, that's where it gets really dangerous. And if they're not participating in the overall conversation, then it gets really, really scary, because then then we all are there in their silo. We are, like, I'm starting to feel more and more like, are we in a silo as well?
Well,
And
I think that in a way, yeah, like, Heather laughs at me because I'll look at my social feed and it's all this political crap. And then it may be like a little bit of WNBA. And then it may be, I don't know, the stuff that, Grey's Anatomy or, whatever. And you look at her feed and she's still on Twitter. I'm like, I'm sorry. I just, to me, I'm going to protest that till the day I die. But, she's still on it because everything for her is sports. She sees nothing political, unless somebody says, oh, this was passed today. But other than that, everything is sports and Agatha and Marvel and DC, like comics. That's that's the algorithm. So the algorithm is going to feed you what you want to see. And so,
did you see the Social Dilemma, that documentary?
No, I'm afraid to. I just don't want to freak out.
Be afraid. Don't be afraid. Watch it. It's really well done.
Okay.
Nothing to be afraid of.
Okay.
It's eye-opening. It's well done, and it's sort of it's Facebook centric, and what Facebook does, what the algorithm does, and it's explained or visualized with the story of young people. One young man in particular, very well done, and you don't. I mean, it's definitely massive food for thought, but you're not going to walk away. You're going to walk away maybe mildly depressed, but not heavily depressed. Just make sure you have a call planned with Diane right after.
Well, and she, it's so funny. So I still do mindfulness with her, as you know.
So just for everybody who's listening, Diane Teeterton is an absolutely fantastic mindfulness coach.
Oh, my God.
She's been in our world for 5 years or so, and we love her very much.
And she got me. So before Diane, and I'm sure none of you would ever imagine this, I was like a complete neurotic mess. And when COVID hit, it hit me really hard that, and it took Diane and my therapist from 20 years ago, who I found that was doing like teleservice, to realize that I was freaking out because I couldn't control it. I couldn't control what other people were doing. And when I realized that I could only control my environment, we moved. We bought this house. It was bigger. It has 2 stories. It had a laundry room that was all the hell the way on the other side of the house. And my wife was an essential worker. And it would be like, take your clothes off, go upstairs, take a shower before you pet the dogs, before you do anything. Yeah. So I was able to control this, but I still was in therapy for a good year and a half. And then I almost died from it. I got it and I almost died from it. So it was just, and that pissed me off because it was like I was being so careful. So what the hell? But she really helped with the anger piece, the angst piece, and the controlling it. And how I knew that it worked, and this is like her favorite story, was Heather had a flat tire. And so I had to go, we had to order a tire. There's a service here where we pay insurance for the tires. So they just replace them for free. And tires are like 200 something bucks a piece. So the guy called and said her tire was in. So we said, great. So she took my car. I had hers and I was going to go to the tire place. So I called the tire. They called me and they said, your tire's in. I said, great. I said, do I need to make an appointment? And they said, no, you can come now. It'll be 15 minutes. So I said, great. So I drive there. It's 20 minutes away. And I get there and I said, hi, I'm here for Heather Creeley's car. And he's like, yeah, it's a 3-hour wait. And I said, you literally just said that it would be 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. He said, well, yeah, sometimes it happens. And, we get busy and all these people are ahead of you. And I went, no. Mm-hmm. I called you
Mm-hmm.
And you said it would be 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, now it's 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So the New Yorker in me wanted to reach across the counter and, rip his throat out. The mindfulness, right? I just wanted to just like strangle. I was so pissed.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay. So I was like being calm. There's like, breathe, where I get centered and breathe. And I said, can I talk to a manager? And he goes, I am a manager. And it just slipped. I said, of course you fucking are. I said, great. What do I have to do? He goes, well, you can wait 3 hours. I said, I'm not waiting 3 hours. I said, you don't want to know what an hour of my time is worth.
Yeah.
I said, so do I have to make an appointment for tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yes, you can do that. And I said, great. So I made the appointment and I got in the car and I was so pissed. And normally I would have been pissed for the week. I would have been thinking about him every single day. And I was like, nope, he's getting 90 seconds.
Yep, exactly.
I gave him 90 seconds. I give him the 90 seconds and I'm like, screw it. I need more time. So I waited until I got home. So I was like, I'm going to take the whole drive home. And then as soon as I get home, because I didn't want the dogs to feel my energy, I waited in the garage and then I was done.
Oh,
but I was
good. Poor Tigger takes all of my energy.
Oh, poor Bubby. But yeah, but I remember I actually called her on WhatsApp and I think it was like 9 o'clock at night. I was like, oh my God, you're going to be so proud of me. And she was like, what? And I went, I controlled it. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not mad anymore. I controlled it. I know it's going to be handled. And that's how I knew that I wasn't just doing mindfulness. I was, it became part of me. It was huge.
That is beautiful. That is very beautiful.
So have you used her or no?
No. Mm-mm.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm a pretty, I also mellow out with age. I know you and I are probably somewhere in the same neighborhood, but I've never had an issue with anger or flying off the handle. I mean, I've told certain people who are, part of the Teamsterhood and other unions to go F themselves and that I was going to have them at their balls. But that was also because I was pushed to the brink of, this is not cool anymore. I've also slammed the phone down once or twice on people, but that's about as far as I've
remember
gone.
when we could do that? That
was so
cathartic.
Do that today. It was beautiful. I was mad. I would scream at somebody, and then you could just slam down the handle. And on the cheaper later phones, they would break, but on the old phones, they wouldn't even break. And you can't how do you do that now? Because I'm not
going to go like this, and it's not the same. You hit the button, and you're like, and it just doesn't. It doesn't work the same. I know, it's so funny. I was having
tire or throw something. I don't know. Yeah.
No, there was just nothing. There will never be. And I'm sorry for all of you who will never experience it. I would say go out and get like a vintage phone.
Yeah.
My mom and I would like argue, and she would like hang up on me, and I'd be like, "Oh no, you didn't." And I would call back and call back and call. And it'd be busy. It would be busy because we didn't have like call waiting back then, right? So it'd be busy. Yeah. And then as soon as it would ring and she would answer, she'd be like, "What?" I'd be like, "Ah," and then like slam the phone down. Best feeling in the world. And technology has taken that from us. So, what do you want to leave the audience with? I mean, I knew it was going to go fast because it's you.
I was going to say, like, where did the hour go? Right?
Yeah.
What do I leave the audience with? I'm assuming that your audience is mostly people who are small business owners, correct?
Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneurs.
People thinking about it.
I think so. The answer to most questions I get is always, it depends. And then after it depends, the next thing is mostly what comes out of my mouth is consistency. And I think as unsexy as it is, consistency in everything that you do is that gets you to the goal, right? So, LinkedIn specific, because since that's my area of expertise, the algorithm loves consistency and will reward consistency highly. So that's your number one priority, is being consistent on LinkedIn. same time, same day, every week. Consistency with, delivering to your clients, consistency with doing your books, as we talked about earlier, right? And consistency around how you structure your life, because if you are consistent, then you can color outside of the lines and start experimenting. But you cannot, if you just experiment from chaos into chaos, you will just have more chaos. Mm-hmm. But if you're creating and experimenting from a place of well planned and thought through and consistent, then you're truly being creative, because you've set yourself the right framework in order to be able to be creative. So I think that's what I would say. It's a little very out there, or very not specific, but consistency is a very specific thing. So embrace that.
And then of course, they're going to do this now, right? Like the last second.
It's okay.
I know they're just loud though. Where can people find you?
I mean, on LinkedIn, right? Nina Froriep, I'm the only one. So I would say go on LinkedIn, tell me you listened to the podcast, and, that's how you found me, and follow me, connect with me. And I, of course, have a website, clockwiseproductions.com, but I would say LinkedIn is the best place, because I do, as I preach, you'll see tons of lives, you'll see videos, you'll see fun content, you'll see more serious content, you'll see lots of comments, and it's just my profile is very alive, and yeah, I'm doing as I teach my clients. So it's a great way to experience the Nina.
The Nina. And then the last question that I ask all of my guests is, what lights your fire?
So many things. I think anything creative, right? So I'm also an art photographer. So
excellent art. Oh my God, your photography is phenomenal. I keep meaning to tell you that it's amazing what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think anything beautiful, visually beautiful, and that can be a little detail in the architecture somewhere in a house here in New York, or it can be, when the clouds are just so and the colors are just right, or a full moon, or a tree with like budding. New York is trying to start to bud. We're not quite there yet, but so it's just anything visually beautiful. I think that would be the quickest way to describe that.
Love it.
And of course, my little guy, who is probably sitting next to his food bowl right now, because it's nearly 5:00.
Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with me and my guests and my audience. I'm going to say goodbye, and I'll be right back.
Yep.
Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out another hour plus. Again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, review. Please give us a review. And then in the comments, let us know what nugget you've gained from this. Like, was there a golden nugget that you're going to walk away with, or some, words of wisdom that will help you in your business or just in life. And as always, I appreciate you all. I love you all, because I could not do this without you. So thank you for continuing to let me get to do this. And until next time, go out and find what lights your fire.